Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. This is That Was Order 7. And I'm trying out something new, something that came to me that it should kind of help one of my major weaknesses in this game. And this is kind of how my brain works when it comes to these kind of games. I I know what I'm good at, and I kind of depend on that a lot. And it'll get you through a lot, of course. If there's an aspect of a game that you're really good at and you focus on that strength, it'll carry you through and maybe mask some of the weaknesses and make up for it. So, in terms of breeding and being able to judge horses in terms of quality, I feel that I'm pretty good at that, and also being able to book races and judge horse levels. Now, sometimes I get it way wrong. Of course, you're not going to hit everything, but you do miss 99% of the shots you take, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think that's kind of, fair. Um, and you got to trial and error these things. Now, breeding saves can help with this, and I've got that kind of series going on where I'm exploring more of an in-depth breeding save with y'all. I'll kind of think that's important because I've discussed breeding saves in the past, but you actually get to see one being played a little more involved. And yeah, sometimes you just want speed, so you're not racing the horses, but this is kind of a mixture between racing and breeding. So I kind of wanted to jump in to another kind of save, like I said, to counter one of my weaknesses, which is distance. Now, the CK is also useful for this. You can just generate races at different distances and test horses. But what you see in the CK may not equal what you're going to see in a game. And so I've come up with a way that I feel works for me in order to test these differences between horses and try and figure out exactly at any point in their career how and where they're going to run. And so I figured the best way to do this was to create a custom schedule. So I've gone in and I've selected a bunch of races. You see them here on the screen. I've got races for 2-year-olds only, 3-year-olds only, and 4-year-olds only. That's kind of what I wanted to do here because I'm trying to test my American horses. So I decided to basically take all the best races at each distance I could find, grade 1, because we want to test these horses, so they're grade 1s, and at, 1 per distance. And then I separated them up by racetrack. So we've got the Mile Secretariat for 3-year-olds at Arlington on the turf track. At Belmont, we've got the Champagne for 2-year-olds, the Man of War for 4-year-olds, and the Belmont for 3-year-olds. And you can see kind of how that breaks down. Churchill Downs at Churchill Downs, as well as the Kentucky Derby. We've got the Pegasus World Cup and the World Cup Turf at Gulfstream. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile, the Fillies, and the Turf Sprint over at Keeneland. The Preakness at Pimlico. The Malibu, Frankie Kilroe Mile, Santa Rita Derby and Hollywood Gold Cup at Santa Anita, and the Hopeful at Saratoga. So this gives me a wide range for these horses. Now, why is this useful? Because I can test the same horse at all these lengths. So if I'm running a 2-year-old, for example, I can test the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, which is 5 furlong, 110 yards, so 5.5 furlongs. I can also jump up then to 7 furlongs for the Hopeful. But I can also decide, okay, that's fine, but let's taste a mile now with the Champagne. Let's go test that one. And then finally with the 2-year-olds, I've got the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Fillies because they were the only races at this distance. One's for Colton Geldings, that's just the Juvenile, and the Fillies for Fillies. That's the only split race we've got. Also, as a 3-year-old, it depends how we want to race things, But again, we've got a 7 furlong, we've got mile, we've got a mile 110. No, we don't for that, but we have a mile 1, a mile 2, and a mile 4. And then as a 4-year-old, again, we've got some solid races from 7 furlong up to a mile 4. So it's going to give me a wide band of distances to try from, and we should be okay with that. So all these horses, I'm not quite sure. Are they a mile? Are they 7 furlong? Can they get a mile 1, a mile 2? Can they win up to a mile 4, even if they look more like a mile 1 with their distance adaptability bars? I'm learning more about that, and people in the comments are helping out as well with their kind of experiences with the distance adaptability, and it's different from what I remember. So it may have changed from starters order 6 to starters order 7. It may just be that I wasn't quite accurate on my tests way back when I did them. It may be that I don't remember them quite as well as I think they ended up. Maybe I was slightly off in my memory or my actual testing. I don't know. But people are helping me along with this, and I figure, why don't I apply that? Like, I jumped into the breeding save to like reevaluate a lot of stuff and to kind of reset my brain in a testing environment, but I'm gonna have to wait until November for the Breeders' Cup. We got the Pegasus World Cup early in the year. You know, you can't really test all a horse. So what if you built a schedule and you put the races all together? Now I figured let's ignore the first month because we want people to be fit, right? Let's just clear out February at the start. I took 2 clear days before and 2 clear days after to make sure that this is highlighted in our schedule quite nicely. And this is what we're doing. I took all these races out of the regular schedule, cleared out everything from the 30th of February to the 30th of January to the 10th of February, and I put them in. So everywhere's got their own day. February the 1st is Churchill Downs. February 2nd, Santa Anita. February 3rd to Belmont. The 4th is Keeneland. Saratoga on the 5th. Arlington 6th. Pimlico 7th. And we end up at Gulfstream on the 8th. We begin with the Kentucky Derby. We end with the Pegasus World Cup. That's not planned, but it does fit quite nicely. So these are the races. And what I've gone and done is I've sent all of these horses from our racing stable in the US save to the transfer list and imported them into a new save with this schedule. And what this now allows me to do is just to set up in such a way that we can come and enjoy. So let's just go all the way up towards February. And then this will be what I'm actually saving. Unfortunately, that's not going to work out because Noblesse Oblige is injured. So this is a little bit of an issue. Please don't undo something. Yeah, no, they're all there. That's good. That's good. So we just don't want an injury early on, basically. So let's go to February without an injury. Everyone should be good to race. That's kind of what we want. And there you go. So everybody should be good to race. So I can save that. And we will test Hara first. So what's this mean? Well, those are the races that we can test with Hara as a 4-year-old. We've got 7 furlongs, we've got a mile 2, and a mile 3. And then we've got the 2-mile ones at the end. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to save here. And then we're just going to book them. And hurrah, we can watch, we can simulate, we can go to results. I was going to go to result, but we can simulate, and there you go. In the Churchill down 7 furlong, no jockey instructions, no nothing. Let's just find kind of how they run. Well, we were short-headed out behind a couple of Canadians. A little over a mile and a quarter. Not too bad. For someone that's definitely not a 7 furlong horse, that's a pretty decent run. It just says as suited. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like we're far off 7 furlongs there, right? That's okay. That's okay. What we can also do is just reload it and then set up and see, and there we go. We dead heated the winner and short-headed the other Canadian. So technically, Hara won that at 7 furlongs. And so we're not going to get much in the way of feedback. But I can do this as often as I want now. And just reset back to the beginning of February. And that time, we come fourth. We're a little bit back, but we're not a ton back. We're always outpaced. It just says possibly suited. Like, there's nothing really here that's hurting us. Despite the fact that we're running at about 7 furlongs, we look more like a mile 1. Breeding indicator says a mile 1. We know we've struggled at a mile 1, though, in our other save. So we're not sure if a mile 1 fully suits us. But 7 furlong doesn't look bad. Now, if we were sensible about this, of course, I mean, we got the pink triangle, so this might not work, but, you know, we should really challenge earlier, right? That's what should happen. That is 100% what should happen. But with a pink triangle and going early, because we know 7 furlong doesn't suit, that probably gets us up to about a mile. And this adaptability probably doesn't get us much. But we do win, and we win kind of comfortably. And that's nice. That really is nice. It's not bad at all. It's not a huge win, but it's a good win. I know I can reset back to the day, and I can test again. And I can test in any way, shape, or form I want to. So how about if we're stupid? Well, if we're stupid with this, then we challenge later as if we're a 6 furlong horse trying to get to 7. And yeah, we're less than a length off the front. So we're so far under distance, but it's not really showing us that we're under distance. The feedback isn't that bad. It's not really doing that to us. But I can spend my time here with Hara and run billions and billions of races if I want to, and kind of find out. Well, I'm not going to do that. But at a mile, we come second by about half a length. And now we're getting feedback just beginning to pick up. So, that's fine. That's good feedback. And again, we go to the mile. This time, I'm going to challenge later, which shouldn't be the best option. And I'm going to run this one. And just see kind of what the trip's like as well. Like I say, you don't have to. And in fact, sometimes you shouldn't. Just sometimes you shouldn't, you know. Sometimes it'll crash. I got no idea why that crashed, but sure. I should double check that everything was okay there. We've run this before. I don't know why it would. I don't know why it would. But there we go. Anyway, I'm going to challenge later. And that gives us a 3/4 of a length win. So, normal, I think, was 4th place. Can't quite remember. That crash has kind of thrown me for a little bit of a loop there. But that challenge later shouldn't really have worked out for us, but did. Now, what we should be doing is challenge earlier. And then we win by 2 3/4. I mean, I can repeat that a bunch, but yeah, we know from the jockey feedback and everything, we know this is a good horse. Maybe it's not the best competition, but the competition is standardized for everybody, which is the kind of cool part for me. So yeah, Hollywood Gold Cup at a mile 2, like, is that on distance? It should be, right? It kind of should be. And yeah, that's our best win without instructions so far. A little over 1.5. Looked really good. Got the job done at a mile 2. And so, let's go back in and test Hurrah. At that mile 2 again. Only this time, we'll challenge later, and that kills us. That kills us. Didn't really do much. The challenge later really didn't help out. And then, if we jump in, Hollywood Gold Cup. Oops. Don't trail. Challenge earlier. Shouldn't really have done that, but we can watch it. I think it's because I'm not loading in modded. It's a terrible start for us. An absolute terrible start. We're going to go towards the back. We've got that challenge earlier, which probably hurts us as well slightly at this distance. But we can test it, and we can just do this time and time again and get a number of different races where we can just figure out, in any distance, in any circumstance, how the horse is most likely to respond. And yeah, the challenge part really doesn't work and kind of kills us. So mile 1 kind of felt okay. Mile 1 kind of felt okay. It wasn't too bad at all. But jockey instructions made it better, which probably means we're a bit more than a mile 1. Because it worked out quite nicely. A mile 2 without jockey instructions was great. With them, feels a bit off, which means they probably aren't quite the mile 2 horse. But the instructions I gave would point it more towards mile 1 than a mile 3. Because challenging later really killed us. Challenging earlier... sorry, the other way around. Challenging earlier didn't help us, and challenging later, I think, killed us, right? Maybe I'm wrong. We can test if we can get a mile 3, though. Because we'll just run a mile 3. And we win by 2 lengths there. At a mile 3. And then If we challenge later, as if we're a mile 2 trying to get up to a mile 3, we don't win. And again, you've got to kind of figure out what the field's like and the conditions and other things that might be interfering with these tests. But we're isolating as many variables as we can, and it's under as much control as we can make it. If you challenge earlier, you win. Okay, I want to test challenge later. I want to test later just to see kind of what that looks like. Okay. So we can win at a mile 3, challenging earlier, later, and on distance without any instructions. It's not quite that simple, but almost. Which then, given the fact that we would win at a mile 1 fairly comfortably, and with jockey instructions we won a little more comfortably, and we can win at a mile 2 decently comfortably as well. Right? It's not bad. And we can also set up at a mile 1 without instructions and see. So in this field, in this world, we're winning at a mile 1 and a mile 3 more comfortably than a mile 2. Now that would suggest to me a number of things like the going perhaps, or the field we're running against. But it's just going to give you more information and repeatable races where you can think to yourself, okay, really, what is this horse? What are they good for? How are they going to be running in certain situations? The fact we just ran that back to back with, no delay in between. It was basically, 4 days rest, something like that, is pretty good. Because we weren't at our best and we still went out and won it kind of comfortably. And there you go. A mile 110 yards, we're not winning. So the fact of the matter may just be that the mile 1.5, or the mile 2 sort of fields are better horses. I don't know. But maybe they are. But from those tests, the most comfortable I think Hara looked was actually at a mile 3. Which is kind of nuts to me, because I would have never have had them pegged at a mile 3. But now I'm starting to think to myself that that's maybe where this horse is, and maybe why it's not running well in my other save at a mile 1. I know most of the season I pegged it from mile 2 because I thought that's ultimately where it would line up, and maybe that's right. Maybe that's right. They can kind of run a mile 1. We can use jockey instructions to get around. A mile 2 is a little tricky for us in this test. And that mile 3 somehow seems to fit. It somehow seems to fit. And Life Quest can go into that same 7 furlong field and win comfortably. Because we know it's a good horse at around a mile. So we can just keep testing it at the same time in those same races. Big win over 7, a huge win over a mile. And you can see the difference in quality between Hara and LifeQuest in those two races just because of the winning margins. 100% say that LifeQuest is much better over 7 furlongs in a mile. That's what we'd expect. Now, mile 1 was not bad for Hara at all. LifeQuest probably better. And we're more comfortable saying that this is a mile horse. So without instructions, still having to come up the same field that Hara would have faced, LifeQuest just beat it much better at a mile 1. So LifeQuest is better at 7 furlongs a mile in a mile 1 than Hara is. Hara may be better at a mile 2 to a mile 3. That's what I'd expect. So without instructions again, kind of want to test that. I send LifeQuest out. And yeah, not bad. We did get a blue triangle. But LifeQuest, let's rerun that just because of the triangle. Yeah, it's still around that mile. That's not bad. But I think they start to tail off, and they're definitely off distance. And Hara is beating them more comfortably at that stage. And then when we go to the Man of War, LifeQuest still wins. But no, it's short heading and heading. So, yeah, that's it off its distance. Still able to win against this competition. But we won big at 7 furlongs in a mile 1. We won really big at a mile. And it does feel that LifeQuest is a mile horse, which is what we've seen in our other saves. So it does back that up. On the same side of things, disagree with me if you want in the comment section. Let me know this. But to me, Hara looked pretty comfortable at a mile 2 to a mile 3. Not super comfortable at a mile 2. But I don't know. The fact they ran really well at a mile 1 is interesting. The fact then that they dipped at a mile 2 but really came back for a mile 3 is really interesting. I do feel that maybe it's a mile 3 horse. Or in between a mile 2 and a mile 3. And maybe that mile 1 group isn't quite as good. Or maybe that mile 3 group he ran against really isn't that good. I don't know. Like Shy Prince, we can't really test distances for them because we don't really have any. This early in their 2-year-old season. But we know this horse, it can win. As you see, we do have a mile, and half a furlong. We've also got this little 5, which is 5.5 furlongs. every single person is going to be either 5 or 6. And so sitting in between isn't really going to be super crazy. Yeah, I don't think that's super crazy at all. Now, we also don't have a jockey booked or retained or anything like that. There's no horses in this one. I don't know, like, if anybody else should be in this. But yeah, possibly putting this back in this back in the schedule would work better. Put it at the end of the year and test it. Maybe I'm learning about this as I go. But it does look that without any jockey instructions, we're just random jockeys. Average, good, average, average, good, average. Okay. See, a mix of jockeys, but double of 510 is the one that comes out as the winner. So didn't have the pace, tripped suited well. Slightly too short for Shy Prince, so I don't know if it would say that just for 6. I don't know, because this is 5.5 furlongs. That might be pointing slightly that we're actually maybe 6.5 furlongs. And so we might have a chance to push Shy Prince up to 7. Who knows? Same with Rainmaker, it looks like, as well. So yeah, Shy Prince, Rainmaker definitely weren't on distance. They wanted more. And they came in just behind, which is nice. That is nice. But again, we can just test this and work it and just try and figure out what's likely to be happening with some of these horses. And in the exact same way, it's just like, okay, well, how many we got in here? 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I mean, it's probably just worth booking everyone. There we are. And I'm going to save here because now we can just skip and... Okay, Institute Spy just didn't do much there. Weakened. Interesting. Looks like Ice Queen came from the back, got up, and then dropped off at the end. Pure Adventure couldn't quite get up. And Out Cold just dominated. Just frankly dominated. Interesting. But now we've reset to this day because I'm going to have to like redo the schedule and everything anyway. I can just run it again. Anything different? Yeah, Institute Spy had a better run. Not much of a run, but a better run. They weren't far away from making it a top 4. But looked okay. No extra. You know, again, you can see Ice Queen came up and then dropped back. Pure Adventure coming from deep couldn't quite get up, and Out Cold won it. Not as convincingly, nowhere near convincingly. But you can kind of see a little bit more of them. And yeah, Institute Spy wants less distance. Okay, Ice Queen got the distance well, which means they're not really on it. Pure Adventure, it was too far, we know, but the quality of the horse is there. Because off distance, it's getting so close to winning these. And Out Cold is just doing what they do. Kind of want to test that. Again, 1, 2, 3, 8, same as the first time. 100%. And then if I go looking at my jockeys, so Ortiz, Castellano, Rosario, Velasquez, says Santana. There's so many good jockeys in here. Okay. Then that's absolutely fine. So, what we got? Dylan Davis. So Zayas. Zayas is probably the one I wouldn't want to be running, but everybody else looks okay. Yeah, so Institute Spy probably needs a little time. I mean, really, I think they all need to challenge later. And Out Cold just run their way. So this might be more of a level playing field now with the 2 mile ones and the miler, as I see them, all now challenging later to make up that extra distance. Can they now catch Out Cold, who has just won every single time without jockey instructions? We got the 4 runners, but this is a fun little test and a way of just judging some of your horses. And it's like, it's like running the construction kit, the CK races. Only this is in race day conditions and actually in the game engine, not the construction kit. So it will be kind of different. Institute Spy out to the front, Ice Queen and Out Cold in the middle. There goes Out Cold a little bit on the outside, and Pure Adventure barely hanging onto the camera. You can see the blue hat coming around the outside. So there goes Ice Queen and Out Cold. Institute Spy's doing really well. Pure Adventure's coming through with some pace and power. It looks like Institute Spy's still going to drop off. Pure Adventure coming through quite nicely. Ice Queen coming through quite nicely. But it is Out Cold that still wins. And so, no matter what, Out Cold looks like, at a mile 2, to be the best horse that we have. It does look like one that should just be absolutely fantastic. So again, it was slightly too far. We did try and challenge later, but it wasn't enough. For Institute Spy, it looks like a good horse. It doesn't look like a great horse. It's a shame because it's got the extra speed and potential. It does make me think that maybe the Preakness is something Institute Spy could be really good at. Pure Adventure, more of a miler, but seems to be a little more adaptable, probably because of this bar. It's having an easier time getting to a mile 2 than Institute Spy, who doesn't have adaptability. And Ice Queen doesn't have adaptability, but is sitting at about a mile 1 and is bridging up with jockey instructions up to the mile 2. So you can kind of understand how each horse is getting here. But Out Cold, it's sitting at the market I would say is a mile 2, is running like they're a mile 2, is by nowhere near the best horse that I could see. It's got good cruising bursts, it's got bare minimum extra speed, and it's barely got over 90 potential. So it's, a little more extra speed on Ice Queen, but a little less cruising burst. A tiny bit less potential, but they're close. And then Pure Adventure is kind of in that exact same boat, but with distance adaptability. And Institute Spy has the most extra speed and the most potential, and is in line with three horses. Three of them are all in line on cruising burst. It's only Out Cold that has the cruising burst. So is that what's making them? Is it maybe the bars are pure? They don't start well, but they got some solid things here. A little bit less acceleration, but better start from Ice Queen. Same with Pure Adventure. And Institute Spy is another one that's pretty good. But yeah, so like being able to break them down and figure those out is kind of interesting to me. And trying to figure out, okay, what's the likelihood of them performing in any kind of given race or at any given time? What's actually there? So yeah, the Belmont. Ortiz isn't one of them. I knew I should have paid more attention. Velasquez was. We put him in. Tyler was. Remember Tyler. What's Brian like? Not great in this game. So we got Velasquez and Saez pretty much there. And Tyler's pretty good on Pure Adventure. Who might be the worst horse for us in this just because of distance. Gutierrez. Kind of not too bad. So, equal-ish jockeys. I don't mind that. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But, yeah. Now what we can do is see what happens. And, yeah, okay. Institute Spy, still not good. Pure Adventure, no, can't bridge up to that mile 4. Ice Queen with a pretty decent run. Considering they're more likely a mile 1, without adaptability, they still had a really nice run to get where they're going. And Out Cold is a mile 2 with that may be able to get to a mile 3. Maybe can get to a mile 3. And ends up winning over a mile 4 kind of easily. That might be the field. But really we're comparing against each other, not really the field. Like I say, if you put this in a deeper part of the schedule for the 2-year-old races, like you could do this in December. Clear out December and just simulate through until December 1st and have the races kind of booked around that time. And you can really test then and set it up so that, there's been 10 years in the schedule instead of just the 1 year I did for this to kind of do it early. But yeah, that's not bad. But Out Cold is just looking like the horse right now. And we've tested a mile 2 and a mile 4. If he is sitting somewhere around a mile 2.5, mile 3, with that little bit of adaptability to push up, I truly do think he might be a mile 2.5. And if he is, that little bit of adaptability might be enough to nudge him down to a mile 2 or up to a mile 3. Just that little half a furlong swing. And then the rest is his quality against the competition. He's as good as our other runners. Maybe gives up in some ways, but really pretty close. And just better than the other runners he's facing. So it's not just like how he's running how she's running or is she winning. It's about those distances they're winning by, and when I change variables such as challenge earlier, challenge later, inside, outside, runners, closer, stalker, in pack, like all those things you're changing, as well as what you can also use this kind of save for. Do they need blinkers? Do they need visors? Do they need nosebands? Run the same race, same conditions against the same opposition with the same instructions 10 times with a noseband, 10 times with visors, 10 times with blinkers, 10 times with nothing. For male horses, 10 times as geldings. And that'll give you a bunch of results. And under which of those conditions did they perform better? And even better, take out the top and the worst result, the best and the worst in each of those runs of 10. And that'll give you 8 results under each condition, average them out. Which was the best conditions for that horse to run by? Did it even matter? You can do that and figure out a lot about your horses. So if you're ever in a real struggle, something I'm going to start to do, and I do think you can do, and it doesn't take long to set up, it doesn't take long to do, but you can really learn about a horse or a group of horses straight away. Looks like a little bit of a better run for us in general with everybody. Campanaro does look like a solid horse. Not really sure where they would like to. Well, they sweated up in that one, right? That's going to be why. So maybe a pretty good horse. A little off distance, maybe. Perhaps that actually come on distance this year. I don't know. But yeah, they're still up there. But Institute Spy is our worst of these 4 over a mile 2 and a mile 4. Pure Adventure and Ice Queen are consistently our second and third. And Out Cold is consistently our best. It's just literally been the same way with Ice Queen and Pure Adventure swapping back and forth a little bit. But Pure Adventure, of course, not having as much distance. But I do believe that's a mile horse with adaptability of about 1.5 lengths in either direction, roughly. Could get down to 6, could get up to a mile 2, but it's probably straining at those distances. 7 furlong to a mile 1, Pure Adventure could be really nice. A mile 2 to a mile 3, maybe even up to a mile 4, Out Cold will be good. Can he get a mile 1? Or can she, sorry, get a mile 1? I don't know. But luckily we can quite easily test that. Because we do have the Preakness in here. And again, it says, what's Bravo like? Nope. So Velasquez. Hernandez isn't good. I really should write these names down so I'm not like all over the place. Gabriel says, I don't think so. Brian wasn't good. I'm going to go away and write these down. Okay, I got 5 names. I got 5 names and a bunch of others that I think just have full potential. But yeah, I'm going to try and book the best that I can. There's a lot of 8-3, which is nice. Is Gallardo here? I think Gallardo's the best in the game. 100. Honestly, don't, would rather have that in obedience. Don't really need it for this too much. And we got Velasquez booked in, which isn't one of my favorites right now. Second best, I would say, would be Castellano. Where are you? I thought I saw you. Oh, yeah, you're booked on him. That's why. It's Rai, Mario, and Giovanni. Should all be available? Okay. Let's book Giovanni Franco in. And then Mario in. And then Rai in. So yeah, these are some of the best sort of skill honesty jockeys in the game. So I booked all four. The best is that I couldn't get would be Javier Castellano. But yeah, 4 out of 5 ain't bad. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let me save, skip to the next day. Morning of. There's the 4. We save. And there we go. So without jockey instructions again, all 4 good jockeys up against a 4 Group 1 winner. A single Group 1 winner. The Juvenile Turf winner. We got the Santa Anita Derby winner there, which is the only reason why Rodian isn't a 5 Grade 1 winner. So quite decent. Some Grade 2 winners. Interesting. Will O'Cold win? Of course O'Cold will win. Why wouldn't O'Cold win? How dare you think that they wouldn't win? Institute Spy with a good run, but still the last of all horses. But sitting at a mile 110 yards really suited, probably a mile 1 horse, and just that is likely to be 110 yards. So half a furlong for 10% does seem kind of fine. Now, yeah, it can maybe do that. I don't know, but this is kind of what some of this is all trained for. Pure Adventure, who we put at a mile, but with enough adaptability to probably cover this. Not certain the trip suited. So that's kind of interesting that they ran on and the trip maybe didn't suit when they do feel closer to their breeding distance and their stamina distance than they did at a mile 2 and a mile 4, where they actually performed better and seemed to run a little better. And then Ice Queen trip appeared to suit well. Again, maybe just needs a little tweak. And Out Cold just goes ahead and wins. Just seems to win. And so, what if we use that feedback and now we tweak even more? So Out Cold was fine. Out Cold was fine. Pure Adventure was interesting. I wonder if challenging earlier is going to help. I don't think it should, but given that feedback, maybe it will. Ice Queen. I don't know what I want to do with Ice Queen. Institute Spy. Why don't I run them all earlier? We'll run them all earlier, and then we'll test them out afterwards. But Pure Adventure going early, missing the break, got the job done. Ice Queen, almost as well. It looks like Ice Queen and Out Cold may have been rubbing just inside that final furlong. It also looks like Institute Spy did really well and then just dropped off a cliff at the end. But challenge earlier on the 3, not Out Cold, but the other 3, really seemed to bring them all very close together. And there's got to be a point like over that final furlong or in that last furlong where all 4 of them were probably side by side. So that's interesting. And now that they didn't win, O'Cole didn't have the pace for most of the race. So yeah, we challenged earlier. And none of them suited. I think looks like I told challenge later and earlier. For some reason, on Institute Spy was saved. So if they all challenge later, and Out Cold challenges earlier, then yeah, he wins and he wins comfortably. Or she wins. I don't know why I keep thinking she's a he. Ugh. Easy for you to say. Yeah, that's interesting to me. I'm not entirely sure what it means for each horse, but it's really interesting the way that those are changing things, and I'm learning kind of just how they might be playing into things. And I do think that it might be that they're all just running better, challenging earlier. Just need to make sure everything's going there. So, yeah, all 4 of them don't trail challenge earlier. And I think what you'll see from this one is Out Cold winning, although they are very calm. But yeah, I think I'm going to end off with this race. In the rain, the Preakness, but all 4 are set to challenge earlier. Is that really going to suit them as well as it seems to suggest? Pure Adventure, with that great distance adaptability, but really looks like a miler sitting at the back with the rest of the pack. Ice Queen, kind of dangerous, is sitting just in between. And Institute Spy on the rail is right there alongside Out Cold, who has been definitely the star of the bunch. Institute Spy does go earlier. Pure Adventure does go earlier. The fact that Pure Adventure comes that close, being that much off distance, really does highlight how much that distance adaptability is coming into play. But when they all challenged earlier, you'd expect the horse that's over distance to perform better. But it actually dropped off. And it didn't do well when it was asked to challenge later in this same race. Oh Cold was kind of interesting. Pure Adventure, slightly too far. Yes, it was. Especially when we're extending the trip by challenging earlier. But we still almost got there. Ice Queen did get there. Despite the fact that I really don't think that jockey instruction did suit for distance. And the same with Institute Spy, but Institute Spy actually had a better run with it. So is it more the fact that Oak Cold had a bad run? And it looks like it may be. It looks like it may be. But Pure Adventure there just does come in and do okay. Ice Queen missed the break. Institute Spy didn't do amazing, but was at the front and dropped off again. If you do save before the races, you can actually go really quickly through. If you're only testing for one distance and one race with this group of horses, we can repeat this so many times. And yeah, it looks like with these instructions, Pure Adventure is running so well. Better than Ice Queen. This is all for them challenging earlier. The fact that they've all kind of got instructions locked in now. It's kind of interesting to me. I think there's definitely a bug going on here. Yeah. If I do this, and then save and quit, and come back up. I wonder if this is going to fix it, because I kind of want these jockey instructions to be right. I'm not sure that's going to fix it. So yes, that might be a bug with things. Who knows? But then without any instructions at all, again, how does this actually look like? In Pure Adventure at the back, Ice Queen in the hole, and Out Cold and Institute Spy fighting this one up with Institute Spy against the rail. We're getting the same trips as we had before. Pure Adventure a little more outside, but still leading out that chasing pack. And Out Cold being lazy might be playing more of a part in this one. But there is Pure Adventure coming through really strongly. And Institute Spy can't hold off Out Cold. It's so tight at the front between those two without instructions here. Ice Queen actually got back up barely right at the end. So without jockey instructions, this is kind of what you'd see. But we know that if Out Cold is challenging earlier, they will come and absolutely kill this field and win. Whereas Pure Adventure and Ice Queen, their mileage kind of varies. Institute Spy also seems to need to have a little bit more about them too. But without any instructions, Out Cold is off distance. Pure Adventure also looks like they're off distance. They might be, what, a mile? 110 furlongs? Or just a mile? But they do have adaptability, which is why they're so close to winning it anyway. Ice Queen's won it, and Its Spy isn't quite there, but also is the worst performing horse out of them all. So, yeah. I'm going to kill that save. I'm going to go and tweak my schedule and decide kind of what else I want to test and how I want to test it. I'm going to set up one for jumps as well in the UK. I think that's fine. I might even just do a custom one with fake races and just create a bunch of races for it to run at all different distances. I think that might be kind of better than using the CK in a lot of ways. So, yeah, between the CK and this kind of testing, I think getting a lot of your jockey instructions right, a lot of style of how the horse wants to run right, the deciding whether or not to geld a horse decision, that's kind of a big decision to make. This, I think, can help with that. And also, does it need visors or anything like that, blinkers or a noseband? Maybe, maybe not. We can test that as well. But for distances, for different kind of ways of racing horses, I think doing something like this and setting up a little schedule that's just dedicated to a number of races for a number of horses, you can just send out and tweak all the variables and keep reloading and rerunning until you have this idea in your head. And for me, I kind of want to test Hurrah beyond the mile 2. I want to run at a mile 2 and see how he does. But I'm now thinking that if he doesn't look great at a mile 2, maybe actually a mile 3 is there. From what I've seen in this testing, maybe it's there. I'm not sure. But I didn't think it was before. Now this has given me an idea that it might actually be something to test for. Not only that, but out of my 4 3-year-olds, I honestly would have ranked Out Cold as number 3, probably. And that seems to be wrong. It seems like right now, at least, Out Cold should be my number 1 3-year-old. And with an eye towards the Kentucky Derby, that's very interesting to know. Very interesting to know. The fact that it struggled a little more without instructions at a mile 1 is also something I wouldn't have guessed. I thought it's a mile 2 that can step down and maybe struggle to get up to a mile 4. From our testing, it looks like it's probably better at a mile 4 than it is at a mile 1. At least going up against specialists that are running a mile 1. Like, the 3 horses that we've got, they're fairly comfortable there. But even then, if I challenge earlier, it's very difficult to stop Out Cold. So Out Cold could probably, without instructions, run the Derby, and I feel like we've got a good shot. Then we run with challenge early in the Preakness, and maybe challenge later in the Belmont. And that's kind of what you might want to do if you think you've got a mile 2 horse. But it's not just theoretical now. We've seen it in this save that those kind of were really good instructions for this horse in those races. Whereas some of the other jockey instructions didn't quite make sense. A lot of these horses running in the Preakness wanted to be challenging early, even if it kind of went against what their stamina and adaptability was telling us. They liked to challenge earlier. And that might be a quirk in the horse. It might be confirmation bias. It might just be this field or this going on that particular day. This is where you'll test a lot more than I've done, because, I kind of only had this time to do it very briefly and with a very inefficient schedule. But this is more about the idea of the schedule and how it all comes together. So, yeah, I hope that was in some way interesting and instructional. I hope that people kind of got something out of that. But again, it's just using the full kind of gamut that this game offers you between the construction kit, schedule editing, and just, being able to put your own schedules in, modded versus unmodded. Use everything it gives you. But from what we've seen, Out Cold is my best 3-year-old. But I would have never have guessed that based on what we've seen. 2 tough trips maybe, but 4th place and 4th place. Whereas Ice Queen's looked pretty decent. We know it's a good horse, not a great horse. Pure Adventure, we know, could be quite good, and actually this Louisiana Derby might actually be great for her. This Santa Anita could be really good for Ice Queen. Institute Spy in the Florida Derby doesn't look as good. Just doesn't look as good. Yeah. In fact, you kind of think, right? Pure Adventure running Florida. And Institute Spy. Maybe in the grade 2. There's one a grade 1. But it did perform the worst of the 4. So we're really starting to take all that information in and see, does that apply here? Maybe it does. I don't know. But yeah, something interesting to think of, and a different kind of tool to add to your arsenal where you're trying to figure out distances and qualities of horses and whatnot. So just like a breeding save, a testing save, why not? Doesn't take long to set up. Doesn't take too long to test. And it's just like the CK. It won't give you the full picture. It won't give you the same picture as what's happening in this game. You're racing against different horses. Depending on how far into a save you are, that's going to change the quality of horses you're up against. There might be a sweet spot you need to find. Maybe a 3 to 5 year save would be a nice point. I don't really know. But I do think it's a very useful tool to bring to the table to be able to test those distances and other add-ons to the race where it might make a big difference to you. So hope that helped. Let me know how you get on if you test it yourself down in the section below, or do you do something similar? But interested to hear your thoughts on this. And yeah, check out the other playlists. Memberships are available. Like and subscribe helps out the channel a ton. And yeah, thanks for all the support. That's always seeming to be on all these videos. I really do appreciate it. And we are, I believe, starting to build more of a community. I'm really enjoying seeing everybody growing as one and hearing so much good feedback about how you're doing well in your games and stuff. So keep that coming in. On any of my videos, just feel free to mention how you're doing in your games and what you're learning and what I'm missing, so I can kind of, share that with other people as well. We can kind of, like I say, build this big community before Starters Orders 8 drops. And hopefully we'll all be hitting the ground running and smashing records in that game. That's kind of our plan. I want everybody to be breeding monsters and dominating Starters Orders 8. So hopefully you'll be on that journey with me too, but I appreciate the support on this one. And until next time, thank you very much. I'll see you very soon. Till then, take care, stay safe, all the very best. And if you haven't, go check out the Race for the Crown. Maybe I'll mention this in another video too. But like the Netflix documentary, 6 episodes, came out I think in April, with like 4 or 5 months, 5 months after it dropped. But yeah, it's a really interesting story about the Triple Crown from last year, 2024, and the fact that Frankie Dettori basically retired, didn't like being retired, and has gone out to America and is being a jockey out in America as well. There's a fun story with a few jockeys and trainers kind of center stage there. Interesting personalities, interesting runs, and you get to see a lot more about the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. And yeah, just a really, really interesting and fun look at things. I really enjoyed watching it. I got done with it over the last 2 days. If you haven't seen The Race for the Crown on Netflix, please do find a way to check it out. If you're interested in horse racing, especially if you're not as aware of the American calendar and the Triple Crown and kind of what it means, because I think that might give you a good overview of it. But brilliant viewing. I'd love to see it happen again this year. For the 2025. I don't know if they got a second season out or not. I have no idea. But I hope that they would, because it's a really, really good look at things. So there we are. That's all that's going to be said there. I'll see you next time. Take care till then. I'll see you very, very soon.